I'm Kara Ray, founder of the Powerful and Uncensored Entrepreneurs. I'm a mother, stepmother to 3 beautiful children. I'm a wife and a proud entrepreneur. I'm a mindset coach specifically for the powerful and ambitious online female entrepreneurs who desire to create wealth and abundance in all areas of their life. The Powerful and Uncensored Mompreneur podcast is for the ambitious women and mothers who are ready to rise together and empower one another. Get plugged in each week for unfiltered and uncensored conversations between myself and industry leaders who are here to support you. They have unwavering points of views and empower women to believe in themselves. We will be discussing business, spirituality, sexuality, energy, strong points of views, manifestation, and what I like to call breaking the stigma topics, conversations that will no longer be silenced. This is a safe place to reclaim your power of being a woman. Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Powerful and Uncensored Mompreneur podcast. Today I have Sarah Scott on the podcast, so welcome. I'm glad to have you here.
Thank you. Super glad to be here.
I'm glad that all the rescheduling was able to work. And so you guys, Sarah, I just want to introduce you a little bit. So, oh my goodness, I am like having a moment here. So between homeschooling, because you homeschool your children, correct?
I do. I homeschool my 4 kids. Yep.
That's incredible. And so you also live in BC, right?
Yes, I do.
I live in Canada. I live in Moose Jaw. So this is great. I live in Saskatchewan. So hello, Canadian people here. So Sarah is helping overwhelmed moms create calming rituals so they can train their brains for peace and have deep connections with their children. So this is going to be a beautiful conversation. Today, Sarah and I will be discussing calm parenting and positive tools to win your child's cooperation. There's some tips that I'm going to need in regards to this too, so I know this will be a good one. But I'm excited for this topic. I've been looking forward to this. I know that there's listeners who are also going to resonate with this message, and so welcome. Once again, glad to have you. I always start the podcast with this one question, and that is, what are you currently celebrating in your business and personal life?
Sure. So what I'm currently celebrating in my business is that I have a challenge launching on Monday, and it's called 5 days to get your kids to listen, and it got such good content that I can't even stand it.
That's incredible. That's incredible. What's your community called?
It is called Parenting Solution Finders.
Perfect. So at the end, I'm also going to get you to repeat all of your socials and stuff, but we'll make sure that they're hyperlinked in the show notes so that everybody can just kind of connect with you if they resonate with your message. And so I just want to dive right in and right into the conversation with you. So for those who don't know you, I would love for you to discuss like the pull, the nudge that you had into helping overwhelmed moms with calm parenting, and if this was something that you had struggled with prior. And so I would just love for you to kind of carry from there. And there
Sure. Yes. So yeah, it was definitely something I struggled with. I was my own most ideal client. I just found myself being this angry mom stuck in this like perfectionist mindset and really struggling to see that, you know, kids are kids and kids make mistakes, because for some reason it was stuck in my head that we were going to be a perfect family and do everything perfectly, and I had to do a lot of work to overcome that. And now our motto actually is mistakes are learning opportunities. So we see mistakes and kids stuff and even adult mistakes and just normal human being behavior as learning opportunities, and it makes it so much more peaceful and calm to see things that way and to have that attitude than to hope that everything will be perfect and have my life hinged on whether or not good behavior or, you know, perfect outcomes happen.
Well, and I like that you brought up how you had this idea that, you know, you were going to have the perfect family and that everything was just going to run smoothly. I actually just talked about this last night on my Facebook about how before I had my daughter, because I have 2 stepchildren, I have a little one and one on the way. And before I had my daughter, I was like, I'm going to have the best and the most amazing birth. I'm never going to go through postpartum. I'm going to be great. Everything's fine. I'm not going to hurt. I was like, life is going to be grand and my child's going to sleep through the night. And I had these like big ideas of what life was going to be and how I was going to mesh with 2 stepchildren who are much older. And then I had a child and I woke up.
Yeah. Your bubble goes boom. It's not just a little pop, it's a boom.
It really does. And even during my day, because I'm with my little one most of the day, she wants to crawl all over me and do all the things and touch the computer. And at first it used to trigger me and make me so mad. And now I have to learn to give her grace because she just wants to be with her mom. She just wants to. I honestly think it's kind of one of those moments during my day where I actually have to catch myself and I'm like, okay, if my child is doing this, maybe I need to take a break. Like, maybe I need to take a break. Maybe I need to listen. She's like, hey, you've been doing too much stuff. It's time to pay attention to me. Pardon me. And so thank you for sharing that because that's an honesty thing for, I think, a lot of moms, that they feel like they have to be this perfect mom or fit into this box. And I think we get stuck as moms with comparison. Was that ever anything that you struggled with, was like comparing your parenting to someone else's parenting?
Absolutely, yeah. Before I became a parenting expert, I was just a blogger. And so I've always kind of been in the light, right? I've been out there, right? And people think they know me. And so I just felt like I had to have this, it was fake, but I had to have this like persona displayed to the world that, hey, look, I'm doing it all right. And there's nothing wrong here. And everything, again, is perfect. Like it was just this perfectionist thing.
Well, I don't know. I was like that. And then now I show up as me. Like if I have messy hair, which I like legitimately have.
I do not have hair like this right now, except I had a haircut today. And so my stylist did my hair today.
And I like, probably have some sort of food on my shirt, some sort of stuff somewhere. And I show up like this to people. And sometimes, like even my husband, I don't worry about getting myself ready if I have to go out somewhere. Like I love to, but don't get me wrong. Like if my children are taking up my time, then I'm not going to stress about it. And so I go out in public and sometimes I'm like this hot mess mom and I'm around all my friends who are all like, they're all ready. And I'm like, how the hell did you have time to do that? Like I love you for this, but like, how'd you have the time with all your kids to make yourself look like so hot? But I'm going on a little bit of a rant there. Well, we'll bring it back. And so in regards to, I was going to say conversations. And so it's like having those tough conversations. So in regards to parenting, whether it's with children or other people, because I found that was a big thing that I had to do with my parents when I was formulating my own parenting, skills and knowledge, and I was building them all, is that it was starting to become extremely overwhelming because one parent would tell me that I should do it this way. One parent would tell me I should do it this way. And one day I just had to tell them, like, I know that you're coming from a space of love, but I cannot follow everything that you expect me to do. I said, because I'm going to learn as I go. I'm going to make mistakes as a parent. But ultimately, like if I'm trying to please myself, I'm trying to help my husband, my kids, and then I'm trying to look at you and then you and try to please all of you, I can't do it. And I have to do my own thing. And so have you ever had to have, I'm sure you have, but have had tough conversations with either parents or friends about how like your parenting is your own and that it needs to be respected?
Probably in the beginning. I have been at this mom gig for 13 years now. So yeah, my parents, there's definitely, I mean, again, I started out as a control freak mom, right? And I did actually have my father-in-law come at me saying that I was too hard on my kids, and I didn't take that exceptionally well at the time, but it's probably one of the reasons that I took a look at my parenting actually and went, maybe I do need to change something. But that wasn't right away. It was like a long, heartbreaking, walls all put up, like, I don't want to listen to you kind of thing. So I've had those kind of tough conversations. But I haven't had a lot of like of the opposite, where people are telling me that I'm doing it wrong. And it's quite possibly because I have a certificate, right, that says I'm a parent educator, that my parents kind of back off and don't have those conversations with me. So,
well, that's okay. We're two different people. And so I've had to have those conversations with family that I love dearly. And like I said, like, they were coming from a space of love. But when you mentioned the control freak, so before I had my youngest, so she turns 2 on Sunday, I hated mess. I hated having anything around. And when I had my daughter, everybody was just like, you need to sleep when your baby sleeps. Like, you need to relax, you need to rest. And I couldn't, because I was like, but I have to do the dishes, and I have to do the laundry, and I have to do the floor, and I have to keep the house clean. And it drove me absolutely crazy, like straight up crazy, beyond the whole not being able to sleep because your child's not sleeping, and then not sleeping when your child is sleeping, and then doing all the things. That was just bad. But this is going to lead into a question that I have for you, in regards to parents who feel overwhelmed, because when I was trying to do everything, I was feeling very overwhelmed, and I felt like I had to, because there was this expectation. What are some tips that you would tell, moms that you're speaking to in regards to kind of removing that overwhelm, or tips and tools to implement to remove that overwhelm?
Sure. Number one, a lot of times your overwhelm is coming from a fear of judgment. And look at what is going on, and remember that there's nobody standing in the corner judging you. There's nobody who is living perfectly. There's nobody who has a perfect house all the time. And if they do, maybe they don't have other wonderful things that you have in your life. Because I honestly, would rather live than have a perfectly clean house. And look at all the things on your plate as well. Are you doing those things because you think that's what good moms do? Or are you doing them because you actually enjoy them and they benefit you? Something that a coach friend of mine pointed out to me actually was, do you honestly think you need to fold your children's laundry? Is it just a waste of time because either it's going to get thrown on their floor or it's going to get just shoved in a drawer and put away? Is it just an unnecessary step to fold your kids' laundry? And so just looking at the things that are on your plate and deciding, is it actually necessary, or am I doing this because I'm afraid that if somebody ever found out I don't do this, that I would be ridiculed for it?
Well, and I like that you talked about the judgment piece, because that is, personally for myself, I love how you actually talked about laundry too, because laundry drives me absolutely bonkers.
Laundry is never ending. Oh man.
Never. Sometimes I'm like, how did my kids go through this much clothes? Like, I can't even fathom it some days. But,
and then I walk into my girl's bedroom and the clean laundry that I have done is being slept on by the dog. And I'm like, no.
Right? Or it's been completely like dumped out of the basket. Like, oh my goodness. I used to be the parent who, like, my stepdaughter absolutely loves to fold towels.
Oh, nice.
And now I let her fold towels. But it used to drive me nuts because she didn't like actually fold them nicely. But to her, it was great. Like, to her, it was nice. And I would like put them in the closet, and then later I'd go redo it. And it was just wasting my time. And it's like my kids, they love to shove stuff into everything. Everything, the closet, the corner, under their bed, in the like toy chest. Like, I've found socks in places I didn't even know socks would exist. Like, I'm like, what were you doing when your socks got here? Like, I don't actually get this. But the whole point, So what I was trying to say was in regards to like cleaning my home and keeping things clean, a lot of it was in regards to judgment because I grew up in a home where we had to keep things really clean. We had to be very tidy. We had to make sure that our towels weren't on the floor and that we had to hang them up. And like we lived in a small home. Like my brother and I shared a room till I was 18 years old. And so we had to keep our space pretty neat and tidy so that we respected each other. But um, then after, it kind of became this control thing for me where like there's these outer things that I couldn't necessarily control, but what I could control was cleaning my home. And so it became like this obsession. And so have you ever had women who are like, well, it's not necessarily that I'm addicted to cleaning, but it's this outside control. Like I feel like I'm losing control in all other aspects, like not being able to cooperate with their kids or their kids aren't listening. And so they revert to like needing to control, say, cleaning their home. Has this ever been something you've had to talk with moms about? Because
not so much with cleaning. I do talk to moms about, though, just how much they control their kids and how they can actually hand over some of that control and have a better relationship, and actually in doing that their kids want to cooperate with them. And so for example, just dinner time is often like a power struggle for parents. I've found like it's back to the good moms. Good moms feed their kids and their kids eat all of their dinner. And yes, we still feed our kids, but but we put stuff out on the table, and if all they want to eat is sweet potatoes, well, fine, that's fine. If all you want to eat is sweet potatoes tonight, because tomorrow night it'll change and you'll want to eat the chicken, or and just kind of handing over some of that control, and then observing and sitting back and watching, because your kids become curious about things when you're not hounding them about things. So in giving up some control, you actually gain a little bit of control and more cooperation with that. So
I think the biggest thing with like dinner time, especially with my youngest, is some days she wants to eat and other days she doesn't. And I'm not going to force her to. Like I can't force a 2-year-old. You can't. Like it's just, you just can't. And so I'm like, she's going to do whatever
I know.
she wants.
I have a 2-year-old as well. And yeah, we have just decided that the dinner table is focused more on conversation, and sometimes it's, sometimes you invite your stuffed animal guest, and that's cool. And sometimes it's a sing-along of Down by the Bay, and like dinner time at our house has become a little more relaxed and playful and inviting to our kids, rather than this like stress, right? Like this stress place of either you eat or you don't get this, or either you eat or you go to bed. Like those things just aren't helpful, and they then create food issues later on in life that I just don't want my kids to have. So
100%. And even if I'm going to be 100% honest, that's how I used to parent. I used to parent my kids where if you didn't eat your food, then you went to bed or you didn't get a snack. I don't think I've ever sent my kids to their room if they didn't eat their food. I was just like, well, if you're hungry, that's the food that's there, so you can eat that food. But now I've definitely shifted that, where we have split parenting. So like the kids are here 50% of the time, 50% of it with their mom, besides our littlest. So there's different rules and different expectations in both homes, which makes things difficult. And the way that she cooks is very different from the way that I cook. And so it was a difference in learning how the kids responded to that. And so with my stepson, there's certain things that he hates. I don't force him to eat it anymore. I don't, because there's some stuff that I don't like to eat. And if somebody forced me to eat it, like cooked pineapple, I'm sorry if you like cooked pineapple. I hate cooked pineapple. If somebody makes me eat that, like I actually gag. So like my stepson, when he like gags at chicken, I'm like, I feel you on a soul level, kid. So I'm not going to make you eat it.
Yeah.
But at first people, like even my parents were like, well, he has to eat his food. I'm like, well, I'm not going to make him to the point where he's puking on my table. Like, then I have a whole other shebang on my hands. And it's just, I've learned to let go in that way. And we let the kids dish themselves. So instead of me doing it for them, I let them do it. And they get to choose what they take, what they put on it, do with their thing. And if they don't eat eat the salad or the vegetables, I'm like, are you going to eat vegetables? And usually my stepson is like, oh yeah, I just eat it later. And he always does. But it's his choice now. And it's alleviated a ton of stress. So I love that you were talking about, that you mentioned that. I go on rants on the podcast, so
that's cool. I love rants. That's one of the best ideas and everything comes out.
It's very like, that's why the podcast is very unfiltered. I go on rants, I chat, we go in all different directions. But in regards to cooperation with children, because I guess this is also a big topic, this has been like an up and down in my family as well, with co-parenting, with step-parenting, with learning, with growing children. Like, you know, my son is changing, his body's changing, and it's learning how to talk with them. But in regards to like cooperation and child cooperation, can you describe, like, in your own words, what it means to you to lead like mothers through this topic?
Sure. So cooperation, when I lead moms through, it's helping them to just kind of tweak the way that they communicate with their kids. So, you know, as moms, we can repeat ourselves over and over and over and over, and we are really good at nagging our kids, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so in that, just tweaking how you communicate, like, so it looks like, for instance, instead of, you know, there's 3 floors in my house. So instead of being on the main floor and yelling and yelling and yelling and yelling, actually going to my kid and then drawing their attention to me. So, you know, I might put my hand on my son's arm while he's playing Lego, and then waiting for him to look at me, and just having that respect that's not, you know, me interrupting his flow. It's, hey, I want your attention, and he will give it to me. Like, and just, it's, you know, a matter of seconds before he looks at me. And then I can, instead of commanding my children, I either do one of 2 things. I either ask a question, or I give information. So the first one, ask a question, it's a what or a how question. So that looks like, it's almost dinner time. What do you need to do to be ready? And that switches something in their brain and helps them to take ownership of their behavior, because they get to think up the answer. And even if it's just the simplest answer in the world, like, oh, I need to wash my hands and I need to put away my toys so my brother doesn't get into them. Like, but because they came up with it, it's, again, handing them the control, and they get to take ownership and do the thing that they say they're going to do. The other thing I do is give information. So it might look like, you know, getting his attention and saying, hey, I see that your laundry is still out on your bed. And he's smart enough, our kids are smart enough that they know, like, oh, right, I should put that away. And it's the same as the what and how questions, in that, oh, it switches their brain on to have them take ownership of it, because they've had to do a little bit of work and think it up themselves.
I love this. This is like, okay, so this has been not with my stepson, but my stepdaughter. It was a little bit of a struggle at first with my stepson. But my stepdaughter, in the mornings, she loves to take her time. She's very like Miss Independent, but then there's other days where she gets ready so fast, and you're like, what happened?
Yeah.
Like, what? And so in the mornings, we have gotten the kids up earlier so that she has more time to have that freedom. So that has helped with things. But we find that we're still continuously having to remind her to like finish her breakfast, because she'll sit there and eat her breakfast for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Away a storm. And And I'm okay with it, except we have 3 kids and they have to get on the bus. So I'm like trying to figure out ways to ask her. And like that one question of what do you need to be ready is a beautiful question. And I'm going to start implementing that with her, because she'll tell you, like my stepson will always tell me, oh, I have to do this, and I'll be ready to go. And so I'm sure that if we started implementing that with her, it would probably alleviate a lot of argument and stress on our end, because I feel like we have just been constantly arguing with her, and it's this push-pull. And so I feel like she's just pushing back, because she's like, I like my space. Like, back off. I love my mornings. And I do too. Like, I don't want someone hounding me. But what would you do in that situation? Would you just ask that question?
Yeah. Or what you can do if it's like something that's happening over and over and over again that's a struggle, is you can sit down and problem solve. And so in doing that, what you want to do is bring it up as your problem, because it is your problem. You're the one that cares that she's taking forever in the morning. She doesn't care. Like, it's not her priority to be faster in the morning, right? So bring it up and say, hey, I'm having a problem and I'm hoping that you can help me. And then, express your problem like, I noticed that you really like to take your time in the morning, but I'm worried that you're going to miss the bus. So can you help me come up with some solutions for that? And then just brainstorm. And it doesn't matter how out there and crazy the ideas are, because ideas beget other ideas. And sometimes those really crazy ideas actually work. My 7-year-old, when she was, 5 or 6, we had the laundry situation where I was like, look, I have a problem. Your laundry is all over your floor and the dog is sleeping on it. What are we going to do about it? And one of her solutions was, I'd really like to keep my underwear in my pillowcase. And it was like, why? I don't understand. But we went with it. Like, afterwards we looked at all the ideas and she was like, this is the one I really want to do. It will help. And I was like, okay, I'll let you roll with that. And it worked for quite a while because it was her idea. And so she kept her underwear in her pillowcase, and she actually put away the rest of her clothes in her drawers. And for whatever reason, that was the charm. So when your kids can problem solve, it helps them to feel competent and like they're contributing and like you value their ideas, and it's a huge confidence boost for them. And so they actually want to cooperate and do what they agreed to.
Well, and I like, with my stepson, we have given a lot of freedom to him in regards to choosing. And at one point, I didn't find that we were giving too much, but he loves to play PlayStation. And so I found that we were just buying too much, and that there was no sense, like it just became like an expectation. And so we had changed that in order for him to like receive some of those things, that he was able to choose other ways that he was able to help around in the home. And so that if he wanted to continue to like play these games and have all these things, that we needed something as well, but he got to choose. And he literally one day came to me with a list of 20 things. And I was like, what? How did you even come up with all these ideas? He's like, I don't know, but the one that I really don't want to do is I don't want to clean up the dog poop, but I wrote that on the list. I was like, but I was impressed because I gave the reins to him. I put the responsibility back to him, but also we got something out of it and he got something out of it. It was like a very win-win cooperative situation, and it blew my mind. It really blew my mind.
And I find as well, when you put the solution, like when you put it out to your kids to come up with solutions, they'll come up with way more than you ever expected. Like even, they'll come up with pretty elaborate consequences that I kind of have to, like, okay, no. Let's just, we don't even have to look at consequences at all at the moment. We're just going to agree on what we're going to do, not on if this doesn't happen.
So I have another question for you, because we've been talking about like the solution, the cooperation. We've been talking about the questions there. We went on a couple of different tangents about fear and judgment and parenting. But I have a question in regards to like formulating deep connections with your children. Like, what do you find is a successful tool, especially when your children are, because I find children are very emotional, like they're very sensitive. They haven't really like, you know, placed those walls or formulated those like barriers to protect themselves, I guess. But how would you move a parent through that who is struggling to have a connection with their child, and wanting to connect with them on an emotional like basis?
Sure. So let me clarify the question. Are you talking like when your child is emotional, or
that would actually be a great way to go with the question, is when your child is very like emotional and in like this heightened state. Let's even say with anger, because for example, like my stepson, when he gets angry very fast, and it's very hard to have a conversation because he's just gone from like 0 to 100 like within a second. So like, how would you walk parents through that? I like that you clarified the question, because I was like, did that even make sense?
Yeah, it's good. So for smaller kids, what I do is, the first thing you want to do is like acknowledge your child's feelings on their emotional level. That doesn't mean you're gonna join the temper tantrum, but a lot of times parents bring their voices down to calm too fast, and then it just sounds like, you know, it sounds like you're trying to manipulate your kid into just shutting up, really. So what that looks like is, you know, my 2-year-old is upset because he can't have a snack before dinner. And so that looks like me being like, oh man, buddy, you are really mad about this right now, aren't you? Instead of, oh, you're really sad. Like, just being on that emotional level with them. And then for little kids, tell them the story. You're really sad because mom said no to a snack right now, but dinner time's soon, and I'm going to stick with you for a minute until you're okay. And you might tell that story like 5-6 times before the left brain, which is your logical brain, and the right brain, which is your emotional brain, actually regulate and come together and make sense of it all. Or your kids does anyway. For bigger kids, totally do the same thing. Like, whoa, you are really mad right now. But what you're going to do is say, will you tell me the story? Or will you tell me about it? And then it's your job to listen. And even if their story doesn't match up with yours, it doesn't matter. It's actually their story, and they're the ones processing, and you're just there to be with them and hold space. And then, you know, once everyone is calm, that's when you can go into solutions if you need to. It might just be that your kid just needed to blow off steam, and you needed to be a safe place for them to do that.
Well, and I think that's in regards to my situation. I know that not all parents are going through this. But with our, like, I think that's what it is sometimes there's just this need to blow off steam from having to go back and forth. And like myself, my parents divorced when I was 5, and I also have a stepmom and a stepdad as well. And it was an adjustment as a child. And so I was a child who, like, I went through it as a child, and now I'm going through it as a step parent. And I'm watching these children also go through a struggle that I went through, but very different at the same time. And so I understand the need to like blow off steam, because you can't control a lot of what's happening around you. They have a lot that is not in their control. But that is a big thing. Like, I like that you were talking about asking them if they will talk to you about something, because I've always told all of my kids, like even my littlest, is that they can always tell me the babbly stories or any sort of story that they need to get it off their chest, or to talk to me, that I am a safe place that they can go to. Where, yes, there's also still moments as a parent where I've yelled at my kids and I've screamed at my kids and I've lost my cool. Am I proud of those moments? No, but I'm not going to pretend that that's never happened, because I'm human. And so I also tell my kids this. This is a big thing is with my kids, is I tell them I'm not perfect, and I apologize when I have done something wrong. And that was something I didn't do at first. And then now I always get to a level with him where I'm like, no, I need to apologize to you because I should not have yelled. There was no reason for me to yell, which then escalated the situation, and this all could have been avoided. And so it's teaching him that I will also take the responsibility, and that it's not just up to him to be the fix-it, that he can just be there to tell me what's wrong and I can hold the space for him. And he always, and when I do that, he's always told me what he has then done wrong because I have shown him that. But it's just been like this, it's been a learning curve as a parent to get to that point, because we still have outbursts where I'm like, we're doing all the things that have worked, but it's not working today and I don't know why. And so we just give him his space now. That is what we've learned, is that sometimes you just need space, and we will come back and we will recenter and we'll regroup when you are ready to talk, because forcing someone is not going to work. See, and I went on another tangent, but
no, that's good. You're absolutely right. You brought up two things. The first one being making amends, and you know, growing up, I mean, I'm a kid of the 80s and 90s, and parents just did not do that then. At least none of the parents I knew did that. It wasn't modeled for us. So now, you know, going into parenting, yeah, it takes practice to make amends with our kids. And sometimes, you know, it's not even something that crosses our mind. We need permission to make amends with our kids. And so anyone listening, I give you permission to make amends with your kids. And the other thing, just giving him space. Yeah, cool off space is something I talk about a lot. And that just, so it's not a timeout. It's, you know, a space that in my house, my kids have decided on, the kids who want cool off space. So it's mostly my third little Spitfire who needs her cool off space, and her cool off space has evolved into various things. It's been a green play tent. It's been just her bed. It's been a multitude of places. And she is allowed to take any tools with her that will help her calm down. So a book, a stuffed animal, she can play music. She can decide, you know, what is going to help you to cool off so that we can come back together and talk about this later and reconnect. So, yeah.
All right. So I have one other question for you before we start wrapping everything up, but in regards to like guilt, because I feel like there's a lot of parents who feel extremely guilty after they've yelled or lost their temper or do co-parent, and you know, that loss of control as well as a parent. So how would you help guide a parent who's feeling guilty about like their own emotions? So like myself as a parent, there's days where I feel extremely guilty as a mom for feeling the way that I feel, or being frustrated with my children, or wanting a break, or just being irrational. Like there's days where I am irrational and I feel like I am living in a 2-year-old. I feel like I'm a 2-year-old. But how would you help guide like a mom who's feeling guilt over her emotions?
Yeah. So first off, being a calm parent takes practice, and it's something like, you don't go out on the ice as a figure skater and not fall on your butt over and over and over again. But the point is you get up and you try again, and you get up and you keep practicing. And that is really the mark of a good mom, is that she keeps getting up. She doesn't just, you know, roll over and decide, I'm done and I'm just gonna freak out. Another thing is, you have that power to make amends with your kids. Kids are extremely forgiving, and you get to say you're sorry, you get to reconnect, and in general, things are fixable. There's not, you know, a permanent state of mom is mean. There's snuggles, and there's books, and there's playtime, and there's all of the great things. And so really also focus on the really good things that you've done, because lots of times your outburst is tiny compared to the rest of the things. Yesterday in a live video, I talked about, you know, was your day really bad, or was it 5 minutes that you're milking all day, right? Like, are you really a freak out mom, or do you freak out occasionally and you're working on it? So it's, part of it is reframing, and part of it is making sure that you're learning from your mistakes, and that you are actively practicing being a calm parent.
I like that you just talked about how are you focusing on like that one moment, because even my stepson, when we've asked him where I've overthought something because I got upset in the morning, like really upset in the morning, and then they go to school and I feel absolutely guilty. And then one day my husband's like, I'll pick him up from lunch. He can come and hang out. We'll talk to him and we'll just be in, it's just us. And he didn't even remember everything that happened in the morning. He's like, I don't actually even know why we're talking about this because I don't know what happened. I was like, what? Like I said to my husband, I said, I've been freaking out about this and he doesn't even remember what happened. Like he literally looked at me like, yeah, no, I know that something happened. He said somebody was mad about something and I said something, but I don't know what.
Yeah. And our brains are wired to take in the negative, right? And to dwell on the negative because it's a survival mechanism. And so, it's like we become really aware of the negative, and it takes training for our brains to focus on the positive side of things.
Yes. And it was one of those moments where my husband just looked at me and he said, see, maybe we don't have to worry so much.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I think so. But to kind of wrap everything up here, is there any last message from mothers who are feeling overwhelmed or needing some advice in calm parenting? Is there anything else that you would like to tell them before we go today?
Yeah, you know what? You're doing a good job. Like if you're struggling and you're thinking that you suck at this whole mom gig, it's not true. You're showing up and you're doing your best, and as you learn more things, it'll get better. But you don't suck. You're a good mom, and you're doing the best you can.
That's a beautiful message.
Oh,
I know
thanks.
that there's going to be moms who are going to be like, thank you. I needed to hear that today.
I know if anyone gets that tattooed to their arm.
And so for the women and the mothers that are resonating with your message, where can they find you? Where can they follow you? Where can they get connected with you? Please let them know right now, and then I'll make sure to take it in the show notes.
Sure. So my Facebook group, which is the most awesome group of parents on the internet, is called Parenting Solution Finders. As well, I have a webpage that is parentingsolutionfinders.com. And Instagram, I'm Parenting Solution Finders there as well.
Perfect. So I'll make sure that those are all in there. And then can you repeat the challenge that you just had? So you had mentioned it at the beginning. So absolutely. I just want to recap on that. So
it is called 5 Days to Get Your Kids to Listen. It starts on June 10th. So I don't know when this is going to air, but it starts on June 10th. But I do have other challenges that come up, and I do them about quarterly. So
yeah.
And that you can sign up for that at parentingsolutionfinders.com/listen.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing this space with me, for having this beautiful conversation. And once again, I was going to continue there, but I don't really know what else I was going to say there. I just kind of had a brain lapse. Oh my goodness. I think it's time for me to go to bed. Thank you so much. Thank you. It was nice to talk to you. And I know that there's going to be women who will resonate with this message. And so on that note, you guys, I will see everybody else in the next episode. Bye, guys.